Hello, everybody, and welcome on into the starting nine presented by U Stadium. Martino, Puccio, Mike Phillips alongside you guys. A Memorial Day weekend is now wrapped up. I could not put lovely in front of it because it was not. It was ugly for many reasons, especially if you're a New York Mets fan. Rain all weekend long. Really didn't get any sun until probably the afternoon yesterday, right, Mike? So that happened. There's tons to discuss in baseball with the Yankees, Mets, and then obviously the rest of the sport. Mike, we got some positive news for the Yanks, at least. So we'll start with that. Let's get it off and ripping. Gerrit Cole is back for them. Again, I think this is a huge addition considering where they kind of are right now with the Max Fried injury, showing inconsistencies. It's been a rough stretch the past couple of weeks. They're still well positioned to do better this season. Obviously, Tampa Bay has been unbelievable. But yeah, the huge news is Gerrit Cole is back. So, what are your initial thoughts and reactions? A little bit earlier than what was anticipated prior to the season.
A little bit. I mean, they kind of, have let him go at his pace and he's earned his way back. He's done everything they've asked him to. I think the Max Fried injury pushed this up a little bit, whereas I think he may have got another rehab start if Fried was available. But comes off of the IL, 6 innings, 2 hits, 3 walks, 2 Ks, about as good as you could have asked for there. And the Yankees are going to need him right now with some of their injury issues. And we don't know exactly when Fried's coming back.
Yeah. I just think it's such a huge locker room boost too. Cole is a consummate professional and huge leader within this locker room. Just having someone to kind of stabilize the situation, even a decent start, as you said, would be beneficial enough for them. Again, this was just one of the things of why the Yankees are always going to be okay, because they could just get a guy like this back in the middle of the season, even if they're struggling a little bit, which kind of has been the case. So Cole is back. Any final thoughts on him before we kind of move forward with this? I don't really have much to say except came in healthy, didn't get hurt, quite a decent start, and that's really all you can hope for after coming back after such a long absence like he did.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'm curious to track is like how the velocity stays with him. I know it was not fully back to pre-Tommy John levels, on the rehab process. We'll see, as the months get warmer, as he's getting more under his belt, we'll see if that velocity ticks back up a little bit. But it's still serviceable what he still fine what he can do.
It still is, and I think the other important thing for people to note, he's not that young. I don't think everyone is Jacob deGrom, excuse me, where the guy's just lighting up the radar gun even late into his 30s. So we'll see what happens there. Speaking of the struggles, Austin Wells, he's not doing very well.
No.
When there's statistics out there, Mike, that Hayden Senger is doing better than you hitting wise at the major league level, it's time for a cause of concern. The Yankees are getting really, really poor offensive production out of their catchers. Wells is a fine defensive player, but it's getting to the point that it's been detrimental to the bottom half of their lineup where they're really not getting a lot of production. We know the Yankees are top heavy. We know that this lineup can produce a lot of runs. Dominican Austin Wells, it ain't going well for him. So, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that the Yankees are going to kind of just hang on to this? I'm not sure that there's too many options at this current moment in time for them to kind of go with. Obviously, Ben Rice is not going back to being a catcher. So
No, he was not.
What do you think the solution is for the Yankees in this Austin Wells situation? Do they ride it out?
I think you kind of have to because everybody needs catching. Like there are very few good catchers in the league. And I think the fact that the Yankees, I think if you gave them true I think they want to do over on cutting Luis Torrens a few years back, because Luis Torrens, he's hitting about 80 points higher than Austin Wells, the better defender. They could have at least gone to him. Considering Austin Wells' pedigree, he does have pop. He's hitting 165. I think it's tough because I don't know where you're going here. JC Escara is not playing well either, so it's not like he's an option there.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Rice cannot defend enough to catch, so that's nothing you can sort of throw out the books here. I don't know if anybody in the farm system who's capable of it. I mean, you're kind of at this point, just watching the waiver wire, seeing maybe if somebody comes up that you can just grab, put in place with Scar and maybe get hot for a little bit. But you're kind of in a no-win situation here because this is a spot where you just, have to let him go, see if he does it. I think you're trying to fix other positions and hope you can live with him hitting $180 and giving you a good defense.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing at the moment is that he is one of the better defensive catchers in baseball. So that will actually buy him some time. But I just didn't think he would be this poor of a hitter. It's just really damning on him because even if he's just slightly below league average. The Yankees would take that at this moment in time. He's just been bottom of the barrel type of performances here offensively, and we know that can kind of capitulate and spiral out of control. I'm not saying that's going to be the case with him, but the pressure mounts. It's still the New York Yankees. You're still in a position where you need to produce, and I think you're right. They're going to have to look at the waiver wire positions. Obviously, Bailey out of San Francisco was a great addition by the Guardians, and a team that we will be talking about a little bit later. I'm not really sure where they go at this current moment in time. I don't think that the Houston Astros are inclined to deal with the New York Yankees. Potentially, maybe a Vasquez would
No,
be somebody.
absolutely not.
Exactly. So which is like the funniest thing because of all the teams right now, I think the Astros would be super beneficial to either New York team. But again, the Mets are right.
The,
But
the Mets are a
go
different
ahead.
situation. Is there's no bad blood between the Mets and the Astros. They just completely
No, I know,
different.
but I was just gonna say the Mets suck. That's
Yeah,
the difference here. The
yeah,
Yankees are competing.
yeah. When your GM basically accuses you of basically like obviously it's like we'll never let go of the trash can situation and basically saying multiple times he's been cheated out of a World Series because of you guys. I don't think they're going to be doing you any favors in the trade market.
Yeah, I mean, no, there's no. Every time I think of like Houston and the Yankees, it's always George Costanza. I can't think of anything else. I just like laugh in my mind, because it's the silliest thing that ends up being a huge rivalry like decades later after the show. So, yeah, Austin Wells, not many internal guys, but you never know with the Yankees. This is just going to be something to monitor. I think ultimately Wells will likely have the month of June or a couple more weeks. And if he does not turn that around, you could see pretty big changes coming to the Yankees backstop. And speaking of their struggles, Tampa and Toronto, they really handled business against them. This is nothing new regarding Tampa Bay, right, Mike? But at
Yeah.
the same time, the Toronto Blue Jays slowly starting to turn it around. I believe Dylan Cease just landed on the IL. So that's a kind of a big blow for them. But man, talked about it. Yankees beating up on the Orioles, beat up on the Red Sox, and now they come back around and continue to struggle against competition like this. Again, we're not sounding the alarm bells here, Mike, but it is still trending in the direction that Yankees are struggling against competitive teams, right? I don't think the Blue Jays are exactly over 500 at this moment, but teams that are of high quality that were in the playoffs last year and currently Tampa was like on a 22-4 streak at the current moment. They have been electric, but these struggles against these division rivals, this could cost them come the stretch if Tampa continues this trend or even Toronto gets back into the thick of things. Cause of concern just a little bit higher. Has it been elevated a tick on the meter?
I think a little bit because I think obviously, like, if you're a Yankee fan and you've lived through a lot of these teams that have been, great regular season teams and they get to October and then they, run into a team that is not throwing out like garbage pitching or has 5 rebuilding projects on the line and they struggle. This is something
Mhm.
here where, you look at this 2 days ago, the Yankees were 7 back at Tampa in the loss column, which is a lot. They made up 2 since then because they won twice and Tampa lost twice. But that's a problem here because the Rays are a bad matchup for the Yankees. They are that athletic, pesky pitching team that'll give them issues. And we'll see that happen as a bad matchup in Toronto. You wanted to see, okay, like they've taken a step down from the World Series team, but they still, found a way to split that series and they were struggling. So
Yeah.
you're a Yankee fan, you're watching it and saying, we're relatively healthy and we're still having problems with these guys who have been missing so many players and lost a lot of guys in free agency. So I don't know what's going on there. It's something you got to be cognizant of and something I think that Ryan Cassidy sitting there in July and saying, like what holes do I need to fix to sure I'm more competitive with these guys in this window? Because again, you said Gerrit Cole's turning 36 this year. Aaron Judge is in his mid 30s. Like, yes, Ben Rice and Cam Schlittler have extended your window in theory, but like when Judge is no longer Superman, like I feel like the window for them kind of goes off a cliff.
It does, and I love Cody Bellinger too. That's another guy who's 31. I don't think that bat is going to age as well. Kind of why I was hesitant on the deal. He's an all-around fine baseball player. I think the Yankees will be okay. Someone like George Lombard, I think, is going to help towards that. But I will say this: it's not just about the 2026 Yankees. We've seen them have these struggles in division over the course of the past 10 years or so. Tampa is just always a team that gives them headaches. That's never really any different. Both the Florida teams are problems for the New York teams. We've seen that over the course of time. The Toronto one is interesting because we know how good they are. They obviously were just a couple of plays away from winning the World Series alone. And That's kind of where I'm just getting at this moment, is that I think the Yankees are really good. I think that they have a great opportunity to represent the American League in the World Series. However, when I consistently see things that reappear year over year, I can't help but be concerned about that when it comes to them. I think Cashman's going to have a lot of flexibility and options come this summer because there's younger players that have some talent that he could hopefully flip for them. We'll see what happens there. I mean, Spencer Jones obviously gets sent back down. Jason Dominguez, sort of like another issue too. It's just like all the little fundamentals. And then that bullpen is so volatile over the course of time. Like as good as their rotation is, there's going to be some hiccups. Not everybody is going to be a Cy Young Award winner every single time that they step out there. So I just think that the beauty is there's not as many divisional games as there used to be. They took care of business against the other divisional teams. But hey, man, if we're sitting here in July again and they're struggling against sides like that, I would think that like Brian Cashman, in my opinion, has to be incredibly aggressive come trade deadline window, because you cannot allow these same sentiments, feelings, and results transpire once again over the course of time. It's one thing when the Yankees rattle off 90 plus wins in the regular season again. We know they could do that. We all know they're capable of that. But can they show that they turn the corner to eventually win in October and get over the biggest hump, which is winning the World Series for the first time in 17 years? So I'm not fully convinced of that just yet, but I do think they're in a fantastic position because the AL also sucks, Mike. So final thoughts on their struggles here. Yeah.
It does. Again, I said this last week. I'll say it again here. Like, there is no fear with this American League. The Yankees will miss the playoffs. Like, their floor is absolute floor, where these things go horribly wrong. They're wild card too. That's the absolute floor. Like, the best case is you can still win division, but important to note still, like, they have not won a series against it. Like, I'm talking like best of 5, not the wild card series last year.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They have not won a playoff series against a team outside the American League Central since 2012 when they beat the Orioles in the ALDS. So that's insane. Yeah. They're hoping to get some more AL Central merchants in there, but like if you're going through that Tampa Toronto road, that might not be as easy.
That is an insane statistic. It's one thing if it's like, oh, the Mets haven't won the NLCS in the past. They've only won it one time in the past 20 years. It's like, yeah, no shit. But the Yankees make the playoffs all the time. I believe since 2012, they've only might have missed it 2 times. I think it was like 2014. And then
I have it up for
2021.
I can tell you they missed 13, 14 back to back. That was the Brian McCann, like Jacoby Ellsbury Yankees. They missed in 16 when they sold off and got the core of this group together.
They were that many times. Okay, yeah.
They missed in 23, but like since 16, they only missed once.
Either way, says a lot about that. But that's a great statistic. Not great statistics, Mike. Nolan McLean, is he broken? No. See, this is where I know I made this graphic too. But the point is that I want to make about Nolan McLean and his recent struggles is that I think it's ridiculous for people to be jumping the gun on a young pitcher who has under 35 starts in his major league career, has only been a full-time pitcher this is entering his second season now, Mike. If there is a pitcher on this staff that it can afford to have some struggles at any moment, I think it's Nolan McLean. Because to be quite honest with you, there has to be some sort of regression. You can't just come into Major League Baseball with all the great stuff that you have and just expect to dominate all the time when you have trouble locating. And that's been sort of a big issue. You, I, and our other friend love to talk about how the Mets call games in terms of pitching, and it's always garbage. I don't think that they're doing anything to help him. His fastball, I wouldn't want to call it flat, but it becomes more hittable when you have to throw it first strike, right? Because he's missing early in the counts with his breaking pitches, which causes him to fall behind. And of course, hitters are going to be looking for the fastball. It's about getting ahead, which a lot of Mets pitchers are struggling to do, Mike. Yep. He's been poor these past few starts. And I think it's just being compounded by the fact that the Mets suck. So the Mets really need him and Freddie Peralta to be at their A game when a guy like Clay Holmes is out and the rest of the staff sucks. I think he's been magnified. I think inconsistency and regression were always going to happen, considering at the level that he was playing at. But your perspective on this, do you have long-term concern with him? Do you think this is a bump in the road? Is this a situation where you need Carlos Mendoza to do a Terry Collins to Jacob deGrom in Texas, where he puts his arm around his shoulder and saying, like, this happens to everyone, man. It is okay. You will be okay. Maybe not Paul Skeens. except for opening day. But like, this is just, it's natural. I will overreact about some things with the Mets. This is not one of them for me. How do you view Nolan's situation, his current struggles?
Yeah, this to me is a bump in the road situation. Every pitcher goes through this at some point in their career. I mean, he's been in the league for about what, like you say, 4 or 5 months cumulatively, going back to last August. Like at some point, like the book is gonna get out on you, and people are gonna say, okay, like I know to sit on this pitch at this pitch. If you're not locating, like he hasn't been the last few games, like people are gonna tee off on you, and the command's not there. He said my breaking pitches are a bit off. I had to throw the fastball more in here. The lefty thing I know is a concern that his stuff does not play as well against left-handed hitters, and we've seen that play out a little bit the last few starts. But this is the thing where, again, like young pitcher, he's got great stuff. He will be fine in the long run. He's gonna make adjustments. He'll be a fine pitcher for the front rotation for the Mets for a long time. But it just goes to show you this is why banking on Nolan McLean's gonna win Rookie of the Year, so we get an extra draft pick is stupid, or Nolan McLean is gonna be like the ace of the staff. Like no, like he's still only in his 20s, and he's been a full-time pitcher for about a year and a half. So it's something you just watch, you give him the support he needs, and let him figure out the big level. I saw some people online saying, send him down. Like he's got to struggle. Like, no, guys, come on. Like,
what is sending him down do to bring up who? Just because he's going through struggles doesn't mean that the major league team should suffer. There aren't options in the minor leagues at this current moment in time that could come in and replicate the type of talent that he has. The people who get stuck in this 1970s bullshit, antiquated thinking where you want to send a guy down because they have a couple of struggles. Shut up. You're negative reinforcement. You're hitting, you're yelling at people when you think that makes great players and great people be successful. No, causation is not correlated here. It is just, I am so sick of this bullshit where we get these stupid talking heads that have their voices. And I don't give a shit if that's what we're doing here. We're logical in this. I'm sick and tired of people who have insane large platforms saying the dumbest shit that I've ever fucking seen in my life, because I'm sick of wanting to demote players because they go through certain struggles when your options are non-existent. Because those people
drop fly balls in the words of Sal Licata when he was calling for Carson Bench and sent down a week and a half
ago. Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Because it's stupid. Because you just want to grab onto something and say, that guy dropped the fly ball, get him the fuck out of here. Like, shut up, man. Shut up. Like, you don't even know the internal options in the minor leagues. You're going to look at the top 30 prospect list, pick a name on it, and say, this guy can come up and do the job. Shut up. Shut up. It's the same thing when they're trying to ask Nick Morabito to be a savior, when we all know he projects as a fourth outfielder. Like, just shut the fuck up. Moving on. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
On the Morabito point, too, here. I mean, like, people saw Carson Bench start to hit. They saw AJ Ewing start to hit and say, great. Here's another young outfielder. But, you look at his profile and, what he is. He's fast. He has some contact ability. He was hitting 253 in AAA.
He was struggling at first, yeah.
He's not hitting 400 in AAA. He is the guy who, in your ideal world, he's your long-term Tyrone Taylor replacement. You're asking to come up here and be at the level of Benj and Ewing is insanity. I feel bad for anybody trying to force at him. And the Mets did no favors that fiasco with the uniform number at the start of this thing, where they gave him number 8 when they weren't supposed to.
Yeah. People are silly, and they're conflating the Mets stinking as an overall team with their perception of these prospects and minor league players. However, Mike, I don't think this lineup can be fixed without the return of Lindor and Jorge Polanco. There's zero chance. We know they've been missing Juan Soto. It was a horrible week after the split in Washington, which was a decent result, all things considered. Miami, it was atrocious, but it's just a frustrating thing because there was pretty decent pitching, Mike. There was good enough pitching for this, and they still manage to have this stretch of hitting that is just non-existent. And the fact that we're just sitting here and being complacent with this, having guys batting fourth that have no business batting fourth, players that are putting in the dumbest at-bats that you've ever seen in your life, guys that are completely guessing so much that they swing at balls that hit them in their shin. This is a putrid lineup. I saw the Mets go down 4-0 yesterday, and I said, fuck this. It's been raining all weekend. I'm not subjecting myself to this. And I went and I literally put something else on. I had to turn the TV off. And I'm a 162er, just like yourself. We watch a lot of the game. I can't do it. I'll let you give me an update on stuff. And I know we've done that at times too, like vice versa. Like that happened. Did this happen? I don't think individually everyone is that bad, but when it's going like this, Bo Bichette had a great series in Washington, then goes back to being inconsistent. Juan Soto obviously having some sort of illness, we don't know. Ewing and Bench still doing fine. Carson Bench got robbed of certain plays down there. Vientos, very streaky player. Beatty's been okay. We know how awful MJ Melendez has been ever since his small golden period of 10 days or however long that is. Marcus Simeon is a disaster. Bottom of the barrel production from the catcher position. I mean, Tyrone Taylor is now going to miss sometimes. It's not like he was anything decent in this lineup. They just can't. They can't fix this lineup right now. They need their star players to return. We know Lindor is doing baseball activities. It kind of sounds like Jorge Polanco is a little bit closer, but that wasn't really concrete in what we knew about that. Luis Robert is obviously, I don't think he'll play again for the Mets. I mean, this is a quick no in the short term, long term, perhaps.
Yeah, this is a problem because like there's not much you can do because I mean, even yesterday, Carlos Mendoza basically said like when Roy Polanco comes back, he has to see the DH. He can only play first base like once or twice a week, which was his ongoing bursitis, which again kind of throws your whole lineup construction out the window here. I mean, I think this is a point where we've seen David Stern saying the offseason, I gotta be more aggressive. I gotta be more seeing here. If you want like these guys are for the most part, Polanco may be an exception to this. At least 2 or 3 weeks away. I know he said Francisco Alvarez ahead of schedule. You can't wait 2 or 3 weeks with this lineup. You'll be completely dead and buried with this lineup here. It's like I think the only thing you have to go find a trade of some sort. And to me, you said the Astros are 4. Like you need to call them up right now and say, what will it take for you to get Christian Vasquez? I mean, not Christian Vasquez, Christian Walker off your hands.
No, both. I would call for both. I really would.
I think the bigger thing would be Walker because Torrens, if he's fielding and he's hitting 230,
you can digest it. Yeah,
you can digest Torrens, but you cannot have this Mark Vientos and Jared Young going to be back. He'll help a little bit, but you can't expect Jared Young to save your season.
Right.
Like you need to get like a body in here who has the ability to, lengthen your lineup a little bit, especially on the right side. I mean, we're sitting here yesterday where like Mendoza's like, well, I need to put a righty cleanup against the lefty Nick Lodolo. Like. If it's not Marcus Semien, who am I putting there? Tyrone Taylor, Nick Morabito, Torrens. Like, I'm not like, I get where he's coming from. Like, he just has so little to work with here that, like, if you want to avoid selling, you cannot wait until these guys come back. What the schedule kind of coming up here is very hard. And on the West Coast trip, they have, the Braves coming in again. They have the Cubs coming in soon. They have the Phillies who are hot. Like,
it's going to get bad. Yeah.
They'll be like 20 under if they wait until these guys come back.
They're cooked, and it's bizarre because some of their hitting analytics are good hard hit rates, and they obviously don't lift the ball, which is obviously a massive issue. But OPS is still 30th. All the major statistics that you need are bottom 5 in Major League Baseball. Not even like a worthy streak of like they're putting up runs outside of like an insane record inning against the Washington Nationals. That inning alone, they scored more runs in the past 4 games. It is so bad. I have never seen this. Even like 2012 garbage lineups had runs where you're like, okay, they're getting something on the board. This is a nightmare. And the only way that they could be okay is if the pitching holds the fort somehow. But even then, it's asking a lot of a younger staff. It is increasingly going to be an issue for the New York Mets. They need Francisco Lindor back soon enough, Bo Bichette, and Soto to be hitting every single day. It's simple. They need those 3. They have to carry. And I know it's been some poor luck, obviously, with Jorge Polanco. Think about how much more this Mets lineup can be extended if they get those 2 guys back. It's just how soon, and they're not going to be rushing these players right now, Mike, because they just can't, because that's also like another thing that they can't afford. But fortunately for us, we know that we've seen baseball for many years, and teams can turn it around in an instant. And there was a funny stat that you mentioned to me earlier before we went live. That is what, if you want to go ahead and read that off.
The Mets' current record now is 22-32. They are 1 loss away, which if they lose tonight against the Reds, David Peterson pitching here, it'll be 22-33, which is the magic record in 2024 before they started the turnaround and had the managers players only meeting. Ori Lopez chucked his glove in the stands that day. They got rid of 3 guys, and then they went on a magical heater for 4 months and barely got in the playoffs. So maybe history's repeating itself. Probably not, but you never know.
You never know. But I do know one thing. Jonah Tong looked good in Miami. There were a lot of doubts about Jonah and making his progressions in the minor leagues. And one thing that the New York Mets and a lot of the conversations around Jonah Tong this offseason were, can he develop that third pitch? Can he add more breaking pitches to his arsenal? Because if he's just a 2-pitch pitcher, he might just be a long-term bullpen guy. Comes in 3 innings, hitless against Miami. My God, the movement on some of these pitches. I find Jonah Tong to be the most important X factor minor leaguer that the Mets have because of his supposed ceiling. I think the perception of Jonah Tong's ceiling, not only in the Mets organization and across Major League Baseball is, and we know there's the comparisons with Tim Lincecum and the mechanics, that the upside of Jonah Tong is so great that it could change a team's fortunes entirely for the season. What I saw is more confidence in using his breaking pitches, and great points made by people on the internet and just in general that watch Tong in the minor leagues is that, sure, you might see walk numbers be a little bit higher, but that's because he's using more and more breaking pitches to develop those pitches for eventually in the major leagues. Obviously, Miami is not a vaunted lineup, Mike. They are not some star-studded team. However, 3 scoreless innings after, the inconsistencies of last year. What did you make of it? Is this Jonah Tong thing legit? We're sitting here on Wednesday. He's supposedly, or wait, today's Tuesday, excuse me. He's supposed to pitch again tomorrow. We'll see what happens there. Have they announced him as a starter? I forget if I've seen that or not, or they're just saying he's pitching.
They said he's pitching. They're waiting to see how their bullpen usage pans out before they decide if he's starting or if he's going to be behind an opener.
That's kind of the problem too, is that we're kind of going to sit here and hope that they don't have a bullpen that needs to pitch a lot because David Peterson is terrible. I'm encouraged by Jonah Tong. I don't know how they'll ease him in, maybe as a starter over the course of time. It is a very difficult situation considering the Mets pitching staff and especially the injury to Clay Holmes. It's going to be interesting to see how they navigate it. But overall, Jonah Tong, impressed, not impressed? What do you got?
I was pleased with what I saw on Friday night because admittedly, I was watching a lot of highlights. I was out on Friday. I did not see this game live, but he looked good. The pitch movement looked pretty good. That's something encouraging to see here. I think, he's at a point, I think, where he got, reps at the minors, the experimenting with some pitches. Let him try at the big league level and see what happens here because at this point, your other options are what exactly? Zach Thornton, who is a higher floor, lower ceiling candidate. We saw him on Wednesday where if his command is not great, he's to get hit in the big leagues. We have Jack Wenninger, who has a better ERA, but is walking more guys in the minors than Jonah Tong.
Mm-hmm.
I think, honestly, one thing here, and this is part of the problem with this roster, is that the way they have it set up is that they're carrying 7 starters, basically, with Myers and Manaea in the bullpen. Why not try, just going Tong and Manaea in the same game? Just do that consistently for a bit. That way it gives at least your bullpen one day off and keeps the same rotation of guys. And I think the problem with the way they built this bullpen is, we want to keep Manaea stretched out. We don't trust him to pitch in short relief. We're using opener David Peterson because we don't know if he's better that way. And now they're backed off of that for a little bit. Why don't we go with 5 regular starters? This is a novel concept in today's game. Maybe put Manaea say, okay, you're going to pitch behind Jonah Tong every week and gets a good contrast of stuff between Tong's over the top, Lynch should come crazy delivery and Sean's off-speed slurpy stuff. That could be a good mix. And then, that's one game you're accounted for. And then you can be more aggressive to pulling your other 4 bullpen guys. Again, doesn't matter if you don't hit, but it's something.
I don't know Sean Manaea personally. I've never met him. I likely will never meet him. This isn't personal when I say this. He's a fucking waste of space on the New York Mets. This is like Oliver Perez territories where it's just you just need to go. You just got to go. I don't care what the contract is. I don't care how much money it costs. You just got to go. Find it, literally pay whoever. You could do it. David Stearns could literally do this, but he refuses and wants to hold on to shit that he think might change. This is stupid. It's the same thing. I think the manager should have been fired again. This past weekend, they're lifeless. They are not responding to anything.
You mean you're not excited? You're not excited about Kodai Senga starting his rehab assignment in the minors?
I am not excited about anything. You could hit me in the face right now, closed fist. I would not feel anything. I would feel nothing. This is what they do. It's like the biggest fucking embarrassment in Major League Baseball. A team payroll, like obviously, like a lot of the players are not healthy enough to be playing. Right? There's over 70 million worth of players that are not healthy right now. Right? Lindor, Robert, and Polanco, and that's not even like discussing Clay Holmes as well. Like, sure, injuries matter, but it's just the way that they respond. I've seen a lot of other bad teams, and obviously you have too, that just they don't do this. And I know numbers are down there across Major League Baseball, right? Like some people want to toss them out, like, oh, look at the numbers. They're dipping here. They're doing this is the lowest batting average across the league or OPS
Yep.
across the league since 1968 before the mound change happened. I mean, come on. Give me some juice balls, please. The Mets need it. Let's move on to the Cleveland Guardians, Mike.
Yeah.
This was a topic that you wanted to bring up. This is just, again, one of these teams in the Central. How do they just always win ball games? Do you understand it? Does anyone understand it? I think other than Guardians fans themselves being so irate with ownership, not even giving this franchise that has consistently shown that they could just win with nothing, resources. Again, Royals have been a huge disappointment. We know the Central is the worst in Major League Baseball. But hey, you win ball games, you deserve credit. That's what the Cleveland Guardians have done. So, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is a team that, like I think I said at the beginning of the year, whether it was on my podcast or here, that like these teams, but it's the Guardians, the Brewers, Tampa, like whatever the number is, like on the win total, you always take the over because they just find a way to win ball games because their style is built for regular season baseball. They pitch very well, they're very athletic, they prioritize defense so much. As we saw at the Patrick Bailey trade, where they have him and Austin Hedges is probably one of the best defensive catching tands in the league. They had sent Bo Naylor down because he wasn't hitting. Like they have some intriguing young talent like Chase DeLauder in the outfield. Obviously, Jose Ramirez is their franchise guy. He keeps taking hometown discounts to stay. Like you look at where they are in the standings. I mean, they're 3.5 up. In second place is the Chicago White Sox, who are a game above 500. The Twins are 26 and 28 in third. The Tigers, we thought were going to the World Series, are now down so many guys. They're 12 under 500 and basically buried in the division. So, like, you're looking here, like, this feels like a Cleveland, like, repeating division again. And, like, they might be, considering the struggles of the AL West, they might be the 2 seed in the American League.
I mean, Detroit struggles and near collapse towards the end of last year, carrying over to this year. I'm not necessarily surprised by that. The Guardians winning ball games now, it's just a bad division. I thought the Royals would be a little bit better, but it's really interesting. And the Guardians are always going to compete because that division is just probably the biggest joke in Major League Baseball. And let's kind of stick on topic to one of the teams that you just mentioned, Tariq Skubal and the trade rumors. Skubal Scope has been something of conversation, Mike, and his amazing recovery to get loose bodies cleaned up. Something that a player who is entering one of the most interesting and fascinating free agencies in Major League Baseball history, especially for himself, considering where he is in his career, how much success that he has had. Getting the loose bodies cleaned up. Sean Manaea says, no, I am good. Yet the best pitcher in baseball says, I will go and do that. But the rumors are heating up. I said this time and time again. Manny Machado, Baltimore Orioles, the same stupidity. History repeats itself again. Franchise player that a cheap franchise refuses to pay for in the long term is now in danger of losing him for the fraction of the price that they could have gotten prior to because they thought that they could compete. The Tigers are struggling. They're terrible. They don't look good. They do have some prospects on the horizon and other good players. But, man, if you get swept by the Mets, that says a lot. And Skubal trade rumors, they're going to heat up. They have to do it. There's zero reason for them not to, right? Even if, Mike, they turn it around, sneak into the playoffs, this ain't worth it. This team ain't good enough for that. Skubal's got to be traded. Should have been traded in the offseason. Hell, thought he should have been traded at the deadline last year. Kudos for them because I guess they want to compete. But offseason that he should have been traded at the winter meetings. Skubal now, I mean, I don't see how an American League team comes in and offers and gets Tariq Skubal. He's more than guaranteed to go to the National League. Feels very strongly that it's going to be the Dodgers, in my opinion, just because it's the Dodgers.
And they also have a lot of injuries, the Dodgers, too, with the pitching staff. I mean, Glass now has been hurt. Snell just went under for the loose bodies. Like, Ohtani, who knows how much innings he can give you. It's right
Dude,
there.
do they like Dalton Rushing? I'm not convinced they love him in that locker room. Would you send Dalton Rushing to the moon if you're them? Who knows if they want to pay down some contracts of players to send back to Detroit? They always have resources. They have things that they could do. Or is there a team that you think has, and obviously this could always happen, has a really deep farm system, has a relatively competitive team, and is willing to take the risk for 6 months, knowing that they can't re-sign him in free agency, a la CC Sabathia in 2008. What do you make of this? Where's Skubal going?
Yeah, I think Skubal, like the Dodgers have to be the front runner here because, like they are motivated because, they know that they're going to get tougher restrictions in the new CBA. Their core is aging and say, no, this might be our last chance to get like an easy third title here. So we might as well go for it. I think you are right, though. I think these teams that, especially in the American League, I know they don't want to trade the AL, but like this is like a window of opportunity. Like if you're like Tampa Bay, for instance, here,
Right. Yeah.
and you were sitting here like, I don't know when I'm gonna get another crack of the window at this. Like we heard like rumors last week that they had tried to trade for Shohei Ohtani in 2023. They offered Junior Caminero and I think another top prospect, and Ari Moreno said no, I'm gonna keep him, and that would turn up and blow up in his face.
Do you have new ownership now too as well?
Yeah, and I think like if you were sitting there and Tampa has a good pitching staff, and you can put Tarek Skubal on your pitching staff and try and go for it now, at least get to the World Series in a weak American League, I think you do it.
I agree with you. It really depends on the price. I think the Tigers have to go best offer imaginable. I do think the Dodgers are obviously going to be the main suitor for Skubal come this offseason. They are likely going to sign him. I don't see another team with financial power that is going to do that. Doesn't make sense for the Yankees. Doesn't make sense for the Phillies and the Mets, right? Like they're not giving Skubal that contract. That's just not going to happen. I think if Mets fans want to think about something in the future, just hope Paul Skeens maybe makes it their way. But that's the point, though. Who's going to do it? Who is competing that has the ability to do that?
I would throw Milwaukee out there too. I mean, Milwaukee has like the number 2 farm system in the league, or number 1, depending on. And they did this with CC Sabathia many years ago.
They did. It's for me the thing with them is you have your pitching is your biggest strength. I think it's more on the hitting side of things that are of interest to me. I think I would also say too, there's not many teams in that Central that are gonna be going for that. I don't think the Cubs maybe.
That's also
they have inconsistencies. They've been going through a tough stretch right now. Do the Chicago Cubs toss their hat in the ring?
The Cubs definitely could. The Cubs definitely need pitching. Like I would look at some of these NL teams, like whether you're like Milwaukee, whether you're Atlanta, whether you're the Cubs, like that's also we need to block the Dodgers from getting this guy. We need to run into the Dodgers at the playoffs theoretically. Like, do you want Tarek Skubal starting for them or against them? Like, I'd rather have him on my side.
I would, if I was Atlanta, I'd go all in for Skubal. I'd absolutely do it. I think the Braves should be doing that. I think that's an aggressive move. And They
don't have the farm though. That's the problem because they have invested so much over the years in terms of promoting.
They have, but I still think that they have talented play. Like it's sometimes I think that they are like in this position and window where the Braves kind of have to go all in. You're running away with the division. Dodgers are really tough. The Braves can easily go to the world. Like we've said this, like the Braves, and then we'll just transition to the final topic. Like the Braves, if healthy, are really good. They were the best pick in terms of betting for the division. They're about 12.5 up on the Mets or whoever it is at this point. They're running away with this. They haven't even been playing necessarily great. Ronald Acuna is like not even close to his potential. Like all these guys, they're getting great pitching at the current moment. We'll see if that lasts throughout the season. I trust Chris Sale. Strider's a good pitcher, plenty of strikeouts, but he's very hit or miss these days, has had injuries. We'll see. Bryce Elder, does that happen? We saw Hefner work his magic last year, and then it faded away quickly. I mean, the Braves are fantastic. They're dominating. They're going to run away with this division. I'd be very surprised if Philly gets back in this. I think Philly is a wild card team. But Atlanta being this good, this early, I am surprised considering the pitching injuries, no doubt. But I am not remotely surprised that one of the best organizations in Major League Baseball is competing once again with the talent that they have on their squad. They had a litany of injuries last year. They do not this year. I mean, they've had some bad luck. But, Mike, hey, like, all kudos to the Braves. They deserve as much credit as any team in Major League Baseball for coming out these first 2 months and playing the way that they've been playing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at their run differential, it's just plus 102. Only the Dodgers are better at plus 108, which just tells you a lot here. And you mentioned the pitching injuries too. You forgot they're getting Spencer Schwellenbach back at some point in
Yeah.
July, which is another big asset to their rotation. Like a lot of these guys we had questions about going into the season have bounced back for the most part. I mean, Ozzy Albies, who we thought was done, like he's hitting 274, a 760 OPS, and like he's more about 2 wins above replacement. Matt Olson's always been great. Mauricio Dubon, another guy who's been solid. Drake Baldwin's been phenomenal on the plate. Michael Harris had a bad year last year. He's been good this year. Like they are very deep throughout. So like this is a spot here, like where if you're Atlanta, you look here, you're up basically 9 games on Washington in the middle of May. You're saying here, like barring a cash out injuries, which you kind of dealt with last year, we're gonna cruise the division title. Like how are we arming ourselves to deal with the Dodgers? That's basically what you're
Exactly. I think that's exactly where their priority needs to be. Skubal takes you over the hump like that. And
yeah.
I just think that the Braves, once they get healthier, they're just a threat, man. I do think they are this good. If you told me like today who's the second best team in the NL behind LA because the Dodgers are back-to-back champs, they deserve it. It's clearly the Atlanta Braves. I think they're going to run away with this division. I think the division kind of sucks, obviously, but you have to beat who you beat, man. Like it's not their fault. The Mets are losers. It's not their fault that Philly comes out of the gate before Don Mattingly and go on like a 10-11 game losing streak.
Yeah, they're already 5-1 against the Phillies, by the way. They have not played the Mets yet.
Which is going to be a slaughter. It's going to be bad. They're going to dominate them. And yeah, I think that's the number one team in Major League Baseball that has to say, even with their prospects, I understand that, to go all in for Skubal. I think this sort of window, again, the Braves have the talent that you have to do it. Their core is going to be there for still like a little while longer. I know some guys have a lot of injuries. It's not going the way that they dreamt it to go. But like, I think, again, we say this, winning 3 straight World Series is really tough. We just saw the Dodgers squeak on by against the Toronto Blue Jays. That team can be had, and I think they're a little bit worse this year. So any other final comments on topics around Major League Baseball or anything regarding that? We got through this show pretty quickly today. I just think that Major League Baseball has to juice their balls. That's all I got, because this is it's a rough watch across the league. It's just not even specific to certain teams.
I think my final note here is obviously Memorial Day, sort of like a point you look at the standings, say, okay, like what's real, what's not. And I think if you're the league, you look at the standings right now, you see like Tampa's dominating, Cleveland's dominating, the A's are leading the West. The Brewers have been great again. Like you're sitting here going like, and you see teams like the Mets and the Red Sox are bad. You're saying, boy, this doesn't help our cause for the salary cap here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the Phillies even out of the gate too. The Phillies should be dominating. Chicago Cubs, another big market team, like slowly going back. Pirates are playing well for the first time in years.
Cubs lost in a row, by the way.
I know they've been bad, but it's still like, but that's like kind of the point though, is that a team of that stature and that market who are trying to lock up their guys long term, like Horner and PCA, that kind of refuse to go the extra mile with spending, it's now biting them back in the ass. But you're right. It is going to backfire in negotiations this winter. I think it's been proven time and time again that the smartest organizations will always compete, and those, despite resources, will continue to flounder until that they realize what they need to do. Mike, where can everybody go and follow you? We've had it on the ticker up top for quite some time now. Go ahead and give everything, and we'll talk about the Mandalorian and everything. Yeah.
Yep, you can follow me on social media, MPhillips331. That's MPHILFPS331. Justin the Suffering's on a little bit of a sports break because we're waiting for the Knicks to get their job done, and we're waiting to see who they play in the finals. But we did have some crossovers from the Sky Guys podcast feed. The Mandalorian Grogu came out this weekend. I had a fun time with it. We share our instant
okay. Interesting.
Our instant reaction pod is up on that feed. You want to check it out here. And I will say this to people, like, if you are on the fence about seeing it, go. You will have fun. It is a highly entertaining 2 hours. Like, it is not earth-shattering. You're not going to see the future of Star Wars in this movie. And the way they did this movie, they approached it very well, where you do not need to have watched a minute of the Mandalorian show to understand what you're getting into. They set it up very nicely that way. There are nods in the movie, plenty of them, to people who watch the show say, oh, you recognize this, you recognize that. But like, if you have never seen anything, you'll still go have a good time.
That is the most positive comments that I've heard about the show or the movie,
Yeah.
because I did not see a lot of positive reviews. Again, Star Wars fans are very harsh. I get it. They did okay at the box office, all things considered, but it's a powerhouse franchise. Of course, they're going to. But I'm just happy that you liked it. And congratulations to your New York Knicks. Mike, you were wrong. You were dead wrong.
Yes,
You
I
said
was.
Knicks in 6.
Yeah, like they definitely have, been cooked. They keep cooking people. I mean, like, even though analytically the series should still be going on here, like it's over.
Anyone who thought the Cleveland Cavaliers had a chance, and if you've been following this team for years now, you're an idiot. Like, you actually don't know basketball. Like, the fact that people thought that they were some sort of threat to this Knicks team, I thought it was laughable. I really didn't think that any team in the East this year had any, I wouldn't say any chance. I don't find anyone to be a threat to the Knicks that you were like, oh, they got to be in big trouble. This whole Detroit Pistons thing too, like, guys, they had no one outside Cade Cunningham that's a threat. Like, what are we talking about here? We have traditional historical losers in these Cavs with James Harden, and you think that they were going to lose to like a guy like Jalen Brunson who turns it up all the time. Like, sure, the Knicks have some flaws, but they were clearly the best roster in team. I took it all fucking day with every bet. I was making so much money because of it. Like, the Knicks heading into the second round, we're like plus 280 to win the East. I think I might have placed a bet before game 7 with the Celtics and Sixers, and I'm like, how are the Knicks nearly plus 300 in the East for this?
Yeah.
It was just, I think people like yourself and all the other diehard Knicks fans, not the ones who are trying to like basically gentrify side talk, they deserve it. You guys have been through fucking hell for decades, and I know you're one of those fans that kind of vaguely remembers 1999, right? I can't
Yeah.
speak for you. So this is like your full-fledged moment. What were your emotions? I know it's a little different. It kind of, again, I'm not a Knicks fan, but it kind of reminds me of when we swept the Cubs in 2015 and then the Mets went to the World Series. And I'm like, I'm very happy. I'm elated, but like I didn't expect to dominate in the way that they did to get to the championship. So the floor is yours here for like a minute or two.
Yeah, it was I mean, it's very surprising. I did pick them to get to the finals, like on my pre NBA playoff
Right.
preview, I think a couple months ago. But like, I don't think anybody would have thought, like we're sitting here, like they've won 11 games in a row. They just literally like they beat the Cavs by 37 last night, and that was the lowest margin that closeout game they've had in the postseason, which is an absurd statistic to think about. They're like plus 280 or something, like 225 in the playoffs, which is nuts. You got Kenny Smith and Shaq singing New York, New York at halftime because the game is just completely out of mix. You got Charles Barkley calling the Cavs quitters and highlighting how like they're not trying. I just had so much fun with this and just like laughing at some of the comments coming from Kenny Atkinson and James Harden after these games. Like, it's just absurd.
They're losing, but like I'm disappointed in Kenny. I thought Kenny was better than that. I expect this shit from James Harden. James Harden is one of the biggest losers in NBA history, one of the best offensive players I've ever seen. There's zero doubt about that. But I've never seen a guy shrink as much as that. Listen, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, you deserve more shit than what this version of James Harden is getting, because Harden's the one eating it, but he's also making stupid comments. The Knicks deserve it. I do think I'm not even here to like rip their path. You play who you play. It's not their fault. LeBron James had easy paths all the time. The Celtics didn't have a necessarily difficult. I think, like, sure, there's been better Eastern conferences as a whole in the past couple of years, but who gives a shit? Who cares? That's not their fault. What have the Knicks had to deal with for decades? Like, it's just people downplaying it annoy me. And I am still a person who thinks Tibbs easily could have won the East with this Eastern Conference, but it doesn't matter. The Knicks took care of business. They're getting to the finals. And like I've said time and time again, you hope the San Antonio Spurs get to the NBA Finals. I'm not saying it's hopeless against the Oklahoma City Thunder, but oh my goodness, the matchup makes so much more sense for the Knicks. And I think that the Knicks can definitely take down the Spurs if they end up playing them. OKC it's going to have to be a perfect series for them. But who do you want? Are you leaning San Antonio? And San Antonio is incredible. I'm not saying that they can't beat the Knicks, but what are your kind of thoughts? Do you have a preference at this point or no? Or are you just like, we're in the finals and I'm just happy to be here and whatever happens, happens?
My preference is that series goes 7 and they beat the shit out of each other for the next 3 games, because like that was probably the best path the Knicks to win either way. Because if these guys like murder each other, we've seen that the Thunder having injuries pile up with, J-Dub's been out for most of this series. AJ Mitchell's been out for part of this series. The Spurs had issues with De'Aaron Fox like being hurt also. Like the more like wear and tear these guys put themselves on, Knicks are basically, like going around like having beers on the town for like next week and a half. I think that's the best bet for them here. And I think the NBA would love Knicks Spurs, because that would get the rematch, the NBA Cup final from December. So they could say, hey, look, it matters.
Also, just the best player in the world. I think Wemby is the best player in the world. Going up against them at such a young age, I just don't think the Spurs have enough to get over the hump. I think this is their road ends here. Jalen Williams matters more. I think that they're just like such an incredible matchup for the Thunder too. That makes it so difficult, because Wemby is just that good. Ultimately, we'll see what happens. Congratulations once again. It's a great day for all the loyal Knicks fans out there. We'll see. They have as good a chance as they've had in 50 years to win an NBA title. And I think that's all you can hope for if you're a fan of this team. And further proving one last time, because I always have to do it, the New York Jets are by far the worst fucking franchise to ever root for. And anyone else who wants to argue it, your proof is in the pudding. We just saw the Knicks go to the finals. So I have nothing left to say regarding that. And I know you root for all those teams. I tell there is no one worse. There's a reason your podcast is labeled the way it is labeled, or the acronym is for your title. So final comments with that.
No, just kind of throw in a little,
We are the New York Knicks. 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 They go New York, go New York, go. New York, go New York, go. They go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go.
We're back. I have to extend my appreciation to the New York Knicks and not make me have to care about the Mets for another 2.5 weeks.
Must be nice, Mike. Must be nice. All right. Thank you guys so much. Please like, subscribe, check us out on U Stadium. Follow us everywhere at U Stadium MLB. We appreciate the support and everyone viewing the show. And other than that, we'll see you next week.